anything they liked, and he said no. And he was right there beside the ranch, and I said, you can use this if you want to. So the next day they was up there and starting to get ready to film it. They used the ranch to make that Rio Grande.
Did you tell them about the greatest story? George Stevens was the director on it.
I can't hear you, Mom.
The greatest story.
Greatest story. George Stevens was the director on it. I can't see.
Greatest story.
Huh?
The greatest story.
Oh, the greatest story ever told?
Yeah.
Well, he was wanting to know.
That was, oh, what the hell was the guy's name?
These have gotten so mixed up that I can't find it.
I worked on that all the way through, and while they was getting it ready. Let's see. Who's the director on it, Mom? I got to think a while.
Who? On what?
The greatest story.
George Stevens.
Sure, that's right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, George Stevens. Yeah, I went out with him when we picked the locations.
Alias Smith and Jones. Joe Swirling.
Elias Smith and Jones.
Joe Swirling was the director on it.
Who?
Joe Swirling.
Yeah. Yeah.
This will be so mixed up you won't know where you are.
Yeah. I listened to all of it and log it all. So it's...
Gil Curlin one day out there at Universal. He was the head of, or he was the top deck out there at Universal, and this one day I was there talking to him out there, and you know the talking mule that they had with Donald O'Connor. She was out there in a little corral. He said, "I'll give her to you if you'll take her." I thought first he was kidding. Then after talked a little bit, then I said he wasn't kidding. They was through with her, so she was just dead meat from there on, feeding her and keeping her, you know. And the Humane Society wouldn't let him shoot her. So he was just stuck. If I'd have had a way to, if I'd have been there I flew out there. If I'd have had a car, I'd have just got to hook up on the trailer and hauled her home. I'd have liked to have had Francis. Ducking mules. Some of them guys that worked on that I got well acquainted with. Hands that just worked with her and so forth. Said, God, she was on me. They was tell me about taking her back to New York. I forget the name of the picture. And they had to take her up one of them high rises, up an elevator. And she bit this nigger operator on this deal, going up in that elevator. Getting her up in there. They told some funny stories about her when they had her in New York. They had her, and then they had one that looked just like her for stand-in, in case, you know, like they always got to have a stand-in, in case if one of them dropped dead or something, to finish the picture. But yeah, if I'd have had some way there, they was through with her, and I could see then. Or I mean, I figured it out though. She was just dead end from then on. They had to just feed her and keep her. The Humane Society wouldn't let them cut a leg off or shoot her. I don't know what they finally. I don't know how they finally come out with her. But if I'd have been there with a car or something, I'd have just rented one of them U-Hauls and hauled her home. I'd like to have her because she was a good young mule, good-looking young mule. She wasn't old. And old Chill Wills is the one that got to do all this stuff. He was here a time or two. I liked old Chill Wills. He was a lot of fun. But you know, that was his voice all the time. Old Francis' voice, that was Chill Wills' voice. He done all the talking. And this one guy that Carver was here with the stock, and he was quite a trainer in some. he'd get her to twist her lips around, you know, like she was talking. And he knew how to pinch her, make her do this. While they, and then Chill Wills was putting the sound in. Yeah, and I'd like to have her. And then they had a stand-in for her that looked just like her. But I could see, I thought first he was kidding. After I got to figure it out, well, I knew he wasn't because they was through with her, and they just had her to have to keep her. That's all there was to it. She was just dead meat. But I could, if I'd have had her to ranch, I could have had some fun out of her. Besides use her. When I flew out there and flew back, and I didn't. And if I'd have been out there with a car or something, I'd have just took a U-Haul and hauled her home. Been pretty simple. That old Chill Wills was a lot of fun. One day there when he wasn't working on the set there for a while. He was there at the ranch. I forget there's 2 or 3 guys with me, and he sung us a song or 2. It was real cute. My hometown is a one-dog town. That was one of them, and it went clear through this thing with the doggy hopping and everything. God, it was good. Yeah, he was quite a guy. But he had the voice all right. Carrie now lives over to Drango. Or Esther's granddaughter, here a lot, works in the store over there, and she sees him all the time, him and his wife. They come here to see me once. Came up here to see me one time when I was down in bed.
Wagon master in those was
This is Battle of Apache Pass. This is Rio Grande. The first one they made here.
well, tell him who the directors were on them.
Border River, George Sherman was the director on it.
You know the McClatchies well enough to talk about them a little bit?
Pardon?
The McClatchies? Tex McClatchy? Tex and Billy?
Clanton.
McClatchy.
The one that run the
Oh,
boat down here.
sure,
You know them?
sure. Yeah, I've known him ever since he first come here. Mm-hmm.
He's a young boy.
Yeah, one time, my brother and I was down in Old Mexico. We'd been across the creek to Baja. You know, how do you have to go across down there? It's 8 hours on a boat to go across just there. We'd been over there for 2 or 3 days, and we come back, and Clancy was on that goddamn boat. He'd picked up what was it? One thing he had was a great big snake, which I wasn't proud of. But he had a little burro, as cute as hell, that I would have liked to have had, that he brought back and got it through customs and everything and brought it down here. And he had that place over across the river there where he run a boat deal out there just across the bridge, right down there. He's the first one that started that deal there where that building was. Those buildings and stuff was. Clatchy.
You know Frenchie?
Huh?
You know Frenchie?
Frenchie?
Yeah.
Who's Frenchie?
He used to be the entertainer on the riverboat, on the paddle wheeler. He used to play the marimba and sing and.
I don't know whether he was ever here or not. I don't remember. Not that I can remember of.
Didn't take any river trips.
Uh-huh. Not that I can remember of. I was trying to think what that one little guy was that Ford always had that was playing that goddamn squeeze box. I can't think what his name was, and he'd sing, and then, of course, at one time they had the Sons of Pioneers with them, and they had them all singing. And but this one guy, God, I can't think of his name. I think he was European or something. I don't think he was just a regular guy from the United States. I mean, or maybe way back. But anyway, Ford had him playing that goddamn squeeze box around for him ever so often or something. Not only just on the goddamn film, but otherwise too. But then they used him on the film too. But I can't remember his name.
Betty Stanton has all the, because George wrote it up for her one time, all the people that worked on these movies, and that's what
This one old gal that held a nice person. What the hell was her name? Ford had her for script. She sat there and took all this stuff down all the time. Quite a more like an old lady, like. I said old lady. She's probably 50 then, when I was 25 or something. But anyway, she was an old elderly like lady, but she did script for Ford. And one day I was there at the ranch, and it was pretty damn hot. And Maureen O'Hara, and she wasn't going to use her for a while. Ford says he got someplace that we get Maureen out of the goddamn sun or somewhere she can lay down. I said, down in my basement was quite cool with a basement in there all the time. It was pretty cool down in that basement. So Ford told this old gal, his scriptwriter, he said, you go down with George and look it over and see if it looks all right. So we started out, and she turned around to all of them and she said, George and I is going to go downstairs and look at my etchings. She was quite an old gal, I'll tell you. Well,
Say anything about Betty Stanton?
huh?
Did you say anything about Betty?
About what?
Betty.
Betty?
Betty wasn't here.
She wasn't here then. She wasn't here then. I knew her, but I mean, she wasn't here. She was just real young then. They didn't even live here.
For a long time.
They didn't even live here. But then I knew her dad before he was even married. Because he was, my father-in-law was a brother to Tommy Larson, and that was where dude was Tommy's boy. Betty's dad was Tommy Larson's son. But that was before dude was even married.
Probably got more than you needed.
That's what we always want to do. Yeah, we always want to get more than we need. George, you can even tell me about this one with the hay. This one with the.
Pardon?
One with the hay. Where you're carrying the hay.
Oh, I had that little jacket. Hey, I was going to the mountain to get to cut a load of bridge logs and bring back. And I'd take some hay up there for the horses while we was working there. It took a day or two to get those logs cut and dug out and loaded to bring back to the river. Some of those logs was 20, 30 foot long, and built several bridges out of them. There's one friend of mine that had the horses. He took them out there to work in the movies, work in the movies. That he had one of them back here once when they made one picture.
Only they were very spiffy cowboys, let me tell you. They dressed so-so.
George, tell me anything about this one photograph of you in front of the log cabin?
Oh, what?
The photograph of you in front of the cabin? The cabin photograph?
With me on the...
In front of that log house, log cabin.
Oh, that's up by the drift fence, go up the mountain, clear up to Castle Valley, where you go up the mountain. I stayed there a while to... I was up there where I could cut timber in the winter time, but I was going to use them and build a log house down at the ranch.